pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll call the CDBG-CV project performance hearing in order. At this time, before we have any public comments, I'd like to talk about what we've done. I think this is in reference to the grants.
This was the COVID relief grant.
Right. And the proposed project was for small businesses located within city limits of Marion in an amount of $350,000. The proposed project will consist of funds, working capital, inventory, wages, rent, and other similar expenses. And the project consisted of the city receiving $35,000 in meals grants, $30,000 for the food bank to replenish depleted food supplies, $5,000 to senior center for 4,611 meals, and $117,000 in economic development CV grant funds, and awarded 9 business grants in the amount of $10,000, 3 business grants in the amount of $9,000 each, and 22 full-time and 7 part-time jobs were retained. The total project cost was $167,000 with grant funding of $167,000. So I just wanted to put that out there so everyone would know what we've actually been able to do. So, other comments?
I'm Crystal from Ransom Financial, and I just wanted to express from the businesses as well that I met with how grateful they were to be able to get this grant from you guys. They were very thankful.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I will now close the public hearing, and I'll call the public hearing to order for resolution 21-04 to order. This is a public hearing regarding a structure located at 140 North Cedar Street. We agreed to have a hearing on this date. Is there any public comments regarding that? There being none, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll now call the regular city council meeting to order. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We have a public forum limited to agenda items only at this time. There being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second?
Second.
Any further discussion in regards to the consent agenda?
Yes, on the minutes on page 5, I'd like my name removed from the statement says no action taken. I didn't say that.
Alright, I don't have a problem with it. Anybody else doesn't? Okay. So amend the agenda then. Or the minutes of the meeting. On February 22nd.
Thank you.
We've got, Mr. Mark Chesky who's gonna give a PowerPoint presentation. It's my understanding he's running late tonight. So I'll probably just shove him in somewhere down the road. He may be here about 5 o'clock, I think.
Do we need to approve that agenda now?
He's already on the agenda. I think.
No, I mean,
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, we need to call the vote for the consent agenda for the modified, for the amended. You
Okay.
amended the minutes, you had a motion and a second on the table, and you just need to call that vote.
Oh, that's right, we did do that. All those in favor of amending the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Mark, you made it. Yeah. You're up.
Oh, they say timing is everything.
Yeah, it is.
You want me here, I presume?
That would be fine.
Pleasure to see everyone. I know what's on your mind. If I might, Mayor, since the middle of last month, we have learned, we've tried to be in contact with utilities all over the Southwest Power Pool, which is all or much of 14 states in the interior of the country. And one of the things we've learned is, among other things, is that there are still numerous citizens, John Q. Public, that apparently do not realize that nowadays very much electric power is generated using natural gas. I'm satisfied this council knows that, but there are people that don't. Well, with the temperatures we had a couple of weeks ago, you may have read, you may have heard that natural gas prices, to say that they spiked, that's a totally inadequate way of putting it. The shortages in supply, the difficulties in getting natural gas to power plants, it can all be explained, and I'll do that if you'd like, but let me give you some numbers. KPP's cost for natural gas for the month of February was a little more than $4 million. Last year, 2020, in the entire year, we spent $3 million. So those numbers are pretty staggering, and those gas prices naturally found their way into the cost of electric energy. Let me remind you, if you don't mind, all utilities in the Southwest Power Pool daily, they offer their generators into the market, saying in effect, hey, if you want to run my generator, here's what it'll cost. And the Southwest Power Pool, presumably on the basis of economics, decides which generators run and which don't run. On the other side of the ledger, all utilities then purchase from that pool the energy that's needed to serve their own electric loads, their citizens, their businesses, and so forth. Our cost for energy in February was $19 million above our budget for the month of February. $19 million above. Now, to be sure, that's just energy. Additionally, there's the cost of providing transmission service, and there's the cost of paying for capacity. A capacity payment to all these generators is spread throughout the entire Southwest Power Pool. And so you roll all that together, and it's about $23.5 million. Our budget for the month of February was about $4.7 million. So I think one of the things I want to do, and you may have questions for me, but I wanted to give you kind of a numerical idea of the magnitude of this. I'm hoping also maybe to give you a little relief from anxiety. Everybody has anxiety. I mean, everybody does. You can understand it. But we now know we have all of the truly big bills are known now. There are several bills that are not known, and my goodness, they are little old bills like $40,000. That's a little bill, at least putting it in perspective. But we've got a very good idea of everything, and so the cost, if we took all of those costs that we have and passed them along to our all of our members, the cost would be about $750 a megawatt hour. You're used to paying something on the order of about $75 a megawatt hour. Well, and depending on the time of year, maybe more than that, but for purposes of a casual conversation, our costs are 5 times normal. We're not going to pass along 5 times normal to you. We're just not going to do that. We went on the record today in a webinar with all of our members. Fortunately, with your help, I mean, I say that sincerely, in the last 7-8 years, with your help, we've got some pretty impressive cash reserves. We do, and we're going to use them. and we're gonna lay out a precise strategy with our board of directors on Friday. Everybody wants to know, well, what's the bill gonna be? And we're still tallying some costs. You heard me say a moment ago, we don't even have meter readings yet for all of our members. Now, that's not unusual. That is not unusual. I mean, we normally render a bill about the 12th or the 14th or the 15th of each month. It takes that long to get all of the meter data to us so that we can prepare a bill. We don't have that. So we don't know. I mean, I've got a strong feeling that all of your citizens used a heck of a lot more electric energy in February this year than they did February last year. So really, really difficult to even estimate what a bill would be. Somebody said to me, one of our members said to me, well, Mark, is my bill gonna be 5 times normal? No, I mean, I think I know enough to say, no, it's not gonna be 5 times normal. We have money to pay these bills. Is it gonna be 3 times normal? Look, no, it's not. I don't even believe that it's gonna be anywhere near 2 to 2.5 times normal. And when I say that, I don't mean close to 2 to 2.5 times normal. I mean, I don't think it'll be anywhere near that. Some people wanna know right now because they're in the process of deciding whether or not they want to apply for this state loan fund. And, I wish I could say more precisely. That really, it's almost reckless to try to say more than that because we just don't have all that data just yet. We know it's gonna be expensive, and we know that cash reserves are gonna have to be replenished. If we're prudent, if we're responsible, they will. Everything that we have, which is a heck of a lot of money, I'll just tell you it is. But it's taken us about 8 years to get there. Heaven forbid this will happen again next February. I mean, who knows? I don't know. But we're gonna try, I'm sure, the board of directors will have to approve it, but we're gonna try to implement some kind of a replenishment recovery plan. And we'll hear a little bit more about that, I think, after Friday when we have a board of directors meeting. I'm taking your time, I'm doing a lot of talking, but is there something I can answer? Is there something I can clarify? Or?
Mark, I have a question.
Yes.
I read this weekend that what was our power company before Evergy for this market lost in the neighborhood of $100 million, some astronomical figure. Yet in the Kansas City market that was KCP&L made $60 million.
Oh, I did not know that. I didn't see that.
They were gonna pass the winnings off to the Kansas City market while at the same time trying to recover in this market from the loss. And yet they're all owned by Evergy.
Yeah.
Does that affect us?
Oh, no.
We're
No,
not
no,
buying
no,
any
that-
power from Evergy?
Well, as a matter of fact, we do. We have a participation agreement in the Jeffrey Energy Center, north of St. Mary's, northwest of Topeka. We pay for capacity and energy from that. And so we have a bill that's due. But I think you're expressing some concern about money going from one side of this, from one part of this.
Fairness.
Yeah. I don't think that, our participation is not, I don't think we're having to suffer anything like that. We're paying for capacity from Jeffrey, we pay for energy from Jeffrey, and Jeffrey is, along with all of these other resources, the Grand River Dam Authority of ours, the Dogwood Combined Cycle Plant, the Southwestern Power Administration, these are all resources we have. Those are all bid into the market, and we made money on those. I mean, truly we did. If we didn't have those, I'll give you some more numbers here. If we didn't have our resource in the form of Jeffrey Energy Center and several others that I just mentioned, our energy bill would have been $43 million, would have been. It wasn't $43 million because GRDA and all the others, we got credits. We got credits to the tune of $30 million, 30. And so a lot of money was coming back to us. I don't think that's a concern at all. I think there's probably some retail customers that might have a legitimate question, but we're not gonna get hit with that. I just don't believe that. That's not, that's a separate track of analysis than our participation agreement. It's a good question.
Is our transmission fees included in your bill, or do we pay everything separate?
Oh, no, when you pay the Kansas Power Pool bill, you are paying for transmission. You're paying an all-inclusive bill with respect to all the components that go into calculating electricity.
I'm curious about the nuclear power plant in Burlington. Where does that play in on this? Does that belong to Evergy? Or
They have,
we don't cap that information, or?
Evergy has a stake in that. They do, the old Westar, before the KCPL merger.
Right.
And some others, KEPCO, which is a generation transmission cooperative, and who else, I'm not sure. But Mayor, the point to understand is that that is a resource that is simply bid into the market.
Okay.
And becomes one of many sources of energy that comprise the pool that utilities pull energy from. And so we don't have any exposure to Wolf Creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason I was curious is because they don't use natural gas, obviously.
Oh, no, right.
To produce electricity, so the cost for electricity there shouldn't have been up.
Yeah, no, those nuclear plants, and of course there's one in Nebraska, Cooper, I think they call it. Those guys, they probably saw some revenues during this time.
Why did this only affect the central states? It goes from the Mexican border all the way to Canada, doesn't it? All of these states are,
Well, it goes from the southern Oklahoma border,
okay.
north, through Kansas and Nebraska, the Dakotas, to Canada. There's a little piece of eastern Montana. There's a little piece of western Iowa and a little piece of western Missouri. That is the reliability transmission operator for this part of the country. There's a, RTO is the acronym, and there's about 5 in this country. But that's the entity that ensures reliability under a federal mandate and decides what units to run and how it's gonna be transmitted to load.
Okay.
Southwest Power Pool, yeah.
All right, just curious.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the council? Right.
Well, you're very welcome, and we will, we got a special board meeting on Friday to talk precise strategy, and so you'll be hearing probably about that, I would imagine, just in that same afternoon. Now, you may be on that call, Roger, as I think you were today, but, so you'll know before we even end the call. I really like to come to town and say thanks. I just think about these reserves and a number of other things, assets that we own. All of these things are due to Marion's participation. And the other 23 members, well, let's be honest. But I thank you, and I think it's just a great time, especially after this episode, to be aligned with a pool. There are some in this state that are not so
What's the
lucky.
chances of this happening again?
I'm sorry.
What's the chances of this happening again?
Well, I mean, it was clearly weather-related. Weather-related causing dehydrators and compressor stations and valves to operate, with some difficulty. There was gas flowing, but there was a lot of gas not flowing, and there's your shortages. The thing that concerns me is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and several attorney generals around the Southwest Power Pool have investigations as to what is true price discovery and transparency. I mean, if there's gas flowing, and gas has been $3 a decatherm for 3 years now, how is it that it all of a sudden goes to 600?
Mm-hmm.
And it went there all of a sudden. And so that's something I think needs to be unraveled. But whether or not it happens again, I mean, largely it'll depend on if we have dangerously cold temperatures and gas equipment responding the same way. I'm inclined to think it won't happen again for another 50 years, but we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure good to see everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, take care. Thank you, Roger. Moving
forward, item number 7, resolution 21-08, participation in the state SB 88, that's Senate Bill 88. Utility Emergency Loan Program, Roger?
Since this Arctic gas crisis began, Kansas City, we've been pursuing two paths, looking for resolutions on retail estimates. One is with the board of Kansas Power Pool, and our request to that board to utilize their reserve funds as well as rate stabilization funds. At the same time, we were working with Kansas Municipal Utilities and our state representatives and senators. From that side, there's 141 municipal utilities in the state that are all facing unknown bills. And unlike the investor-owned utilities, your question regarding Westar, ultimately Westar, whatever their recovery plan is, has to be approved by the Kansas Corporation Commission, okay? But utilities, we're not part of that, and they do not regulate our suppliers. So through the legislature, they passed an emergency city funding bill, loan program, making $100 million available to municipalities that operate either electric or gas utilities on behalf of their citizens. What we've got, Mark and his board will make a decision on the first path on the 15th. The deadline is the 15th for the state loan program. As Mark indicated, the power pool, we still do not have all of the readings for every member to know what the breakdown of the additional $19 million in costs are going to be to each city. I'm asking for your consideration and hopefully approval of Resolution 2108, which basically is the prerequisite action that has to occur before we can make any loan application under this loan program that was authorized by Senate Bill 88. It's the first time in the state history a piece of legislation has gone from introduction to approval on the same day. We were in constant contact with our legislators, and our representatives all voted for this. Basically, the resolution is going to call out that we do intend on applying to this loan program. Our annual budget to cover electric purchase costs are $1,366,454. Okay? Through that period, my records indicate that Tuesday was the worst day of it. A typical Tuesday for us in the winter, it cost me about $4,300 to buy enough power to take care of our city. I still don't have the final estimate on how much was actually used in our city. But that day, the market price went over $4,500 for the power for over a 12-hour period. Potentially, that bill could result in $184,000 liability to the city. Part of this loan program does require that individual cities that are requesting the loan have to use the reserve funds. In our municipal utilities, the most I can come out of unencumbered reserves and still provide for cash basis law and all the different things is $617,000. Potentially, without our association in the Kansas Power Pool and the relief that that board of directors is looking to provide for us, we could be faced with liabilities of $1,178,000, related to this event. So I'm asking your permission. It's based on the timing. If I don't get an application queued up, we know we won't have an opportunity if for some reason the board of directors of the pool elect not to utilize their reserves that they've built over 8 years to help with this. We can take out the note, basically the amount we could qualify based on our, is $561,000. It would be a not to exceed amount. The funds are going to be determined on the 15th of this month by the state treasurer and the governor on how the allocation will go out to what communities apply. So there's no guarantee with $100 million. I know of one of our sister cities that just on the, they provide gas service to their community. They went from a $400,000 bill to $10 million for that one site. So I know they're going to apply for there. What the state has done through this program is they're taking the idle funds, which right now only are paying the state 0.13 or 13 basis points, okay, which isn't, I mean, that's a 16th of a point interest. They're making it available. The current rate would be 0.25%. The term of this is tied to 2% below what the prime rate is. So we're looking at, if we were to do a 10-year note on a quarterly payment based on the 561, monthly we would have $4,366 to pay back this note, okay? When we adjust that out to the number of average kilowatt hours that we sell and all the math behind it, it's about 2 cents a kilowatt. Actually, it's under that, but I'll round it. I'm taking, this whole exercise is the most pessimistic view possible on the situation. Okay? There's no prepayment penalties. We can pay it off before. I'm recommending that we apply on a quarterly based payment rather than a monthly or an annual. That way it keeps it based on what our receipts are and how we're impacted by summer heating or winter cooling and the power usage. It will give us the greatest flexibility. Now, your staff's intention, we're not gonna use this unless we absolutely have to, okay?